I don't know what you mean.
I knew there'd be something.
Hello and welcome back, everybody. Hope you've had a fantastic week and are looking forward to the weekend in whatever shape or form that you're doing. You'll see that we have got the lovely Will Murphy, we've got the lovely Carl Horton, and I'm really thrilled to say that we're joined by Chris from ImplantSure. Chris, we shall come to you in a moment. We're not going to throw you in the deep end. These two boys now think, who's she going to first? Who's she going to? Which one? So I'm going to throw Mr. Will Murphy straight onto the hotspot and ask you how your week's gone.
Yeah, good week. Thank you. All the usual sort of stuff. I seem to be accumulating implant screwdrivers sort of on a weekly basis. I don't know about you. I get people coming to me with all sorts of interesting things on different makes of implants. So usually I'm sort of phoning the Dentsply rep because they sort of own everything, don't they? So I'm usually sort of trying to find bits and pieces. So it's been a bit of a sort of week finding mystery bits and pieces and adding to my screwdriver kit. So that's all been quite good fun. You said weekend to come. Unfortunately, I've got the course tomorrow and Sunday. So at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, I'll be heading down to London. So this evening I'll be reading about soft tissue recession and early implant failures. So that'll be my Friday night. It's not
just a normal Friday night then, Will, really.
Friday night for me.
Kick back.
Yeah. And then I had a bit of a cold sweat today because all of a sudden it came into my head that it's almost Christmas.
I know.
At the shops.
We met somebody today, didn't we, Carl, that has got 7 Christmas trees.
Yeah.
7?
God. Yeah.
That's a big house.
Well, it's a hotel.
It is a hotel.
Okay, that makes sense. But it was kind of like, oh no, panic. Is there going to be anything left? Will I be able to get anything online? Probably no. So it's probably to the garage on Christmas Eve to get an A to Z and
see what you can get free with your petrol.
Well, that's me.
That's you. What time do you start in the morning then, Will? What sort of hours will you be expected to do?
Usually 8:30.
Okay.
Sort of standard. Fridays I tend to do 8 o'clock, work through till about 2:30 or 3 without a break, and then everybody goes home because we're in the city centre. Not that it matters now because there's nobody in the city centre, but once upon a time I realised that the dental practice was very quiet after 2:30 and the pubs were very busy. So I just thought, if you can't beat them, you might as well join them.
That's a good philosophy.
Yeah, let's start early, finish early, and then everybody feels like they're getting a good start on the weekend.
I used to do that.
Good point.
Yeah.
Which course is it, Will, if you're doing it at the weekend?
It's the FGDP implant diploma.
Right.
So down in London, and it's our very last one. So, and then Monday night, a couple of my cohort who are sitting the exam, I think next week or the week after, I'll be doing sort of Zoom vivering for them just to, get them all prepped and hopefully push them through, get them their diploma after all their hard work.
You say that's Monday night, Will?
That's Monday night.
You won't be able to join us on our oral cancer webinar at 6:30.
I will be there. Don't you worry. I will be there. The vivering will have to take place later on. It's all in the diary. Don't you worry.
I believe you. So, Carl Horton, how's your week been?
Yeah, I was listening to what Will was saying. We've been talking a little bit about screwdrivers and fitting sort of implant systems. Do you know what, Will? It's really good to hear that that's what you do because of the different ways that we work, although we do the same sort of thing. And with me traveling around, the one thing that I find difficult to do, and so therefore I don't do it, is to sort of look after other implants, certainly with other systems. So now I know who does. That's excellent.
I can look through my toolbox, Carl, and see what we got. A couple of spanners from whichever kit, you know.
Yeah,
It's like
I find
Meccano.
that because of the sort of the moving and the locating to different practices, that just became a real bind. So sort of sticking to a couple of systems just made life a lot simpler, and so I tend to kind of back off and suggest that they go and see somebody that stays in a location as such, like yourself. I just find that, but that's not telling you what I did this week. A lot of it was sorting out that webinar, sort of building up on that and marketing and getting people on board and sorting things out with that. So we've got St John Green, we've got Khalik, Mahesh, and Joss Harding has joined as well now, which is great. So it should be a superb webinar, obviously hosted by Kate. We're kind of it gets full at 500, although I think we've expanded it. I can't remember the number now. So hopefully we'll get a good turnout. Obviously, the more the merrier. But yeah, it should be good. They're going to really go through some cases. So we've heard. I'm speaking to Joss and Khalik a little bit later on tonight. We've already talked to St John and Mahesh. So it should be very good. Highlight the devastation of what can occur, and yeah, should be interesting. So that's been a lot of what's been going on. I'm this kind of thing. I'm all this kind of online meeting out. We met Chris earlier on in the week. Had a chat with Chris. So no, it wasn't. No offense, Chris. It was nothing like that.
No.
So it seems like a lot more of these meetings, sort of the one I find them harder work than meeting people face to face. If I'm honest, I don't know what that is. I just find it. I don't know whether it's the face to face. Like today, we had a lot of face to face with people in the practice and patients, and much easier doing the online stuff. Although you're not traveling around as such, and this might apply to you more, Chris, than Will and myself. I just find it very, very different. I don't know. It's not so engaging. Maybe that's just me. And then sort of lots of cases. Didn't get a PlayStation 5. And that came out yesterday. But like you, Will, I think I've missed the Christmas present.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it is going to happen. So obviously, I was buying that as a family present, not for myself.
Yeah, right.
It's Black Friday as well, still, Will. So if you've got time, you might catch a few deals on Amazon before a garage shuts. But yeah, it's creeping up quick, isn't it? It's creeping up real quick. Yeah, and this guy that we spoke to, yeah, I mean that the 7 Christmas trees and the amount of baubles they have, and they've got to go and pick it themselves, and the amount of work that went into the decorations was unbelievable. Fascinating conversation, not just about that.
You said
for the hotel, yeah,
which they hope is going to be open, I guess. I mean,
well, they're gearing up to it, so they've been busy during this lockdown. They opened up and they were really busy during the brief opening time from the last lockdown.
Don't say too much.
They're gearing up now. Say again.
Don't say too much, because he may well come and say hello to everybody.
Yes, of course. Yeah, I'll be quiet now. And so that's been it. That's been our week. Yeah,
gone quick. Really,
yeah,
really
it has. Yeah, it's flown, absolutely flown.
Certainly has. Chris, we'd like. I know we had a brief chat the other day. Really would like you to explain to us all about ImplantSure, how you came about putting ImplantSure together, and what it's been like during lockdown for you guys.
Okay, that's no problem. ImplantSure we put together as a 5-year guarantee set up for dental practices, and obviously underwritten by insurance. It's unique in the marketplace because it covers implant and restoration for intraoral and extraoral trauma. In terms of add-ons for the practice, it gives you obviously marketing potential. It gives you obviously things like remedial work will be income generating instead of coming out of your actual treatment cost that you got originally from the patient. From the patient's perspective, obviously they like it because they get a guarantee underwritten. They also know that any remedial work required will be taken care of by the practice, rather than having to bear any cost themselves again. So it really makes it very, very streamlined and very simple to use. We put it together because we thought there was a gap in the marketplace in terms of, we had a couple of other companies out there doing extraoral only insurance policies, but they were annual renewable, which, puts the onus on the patient then from year 2 to keep this policy up. With ours, it's a 5-year cover from the placement. So the patient's fully covered. Any remedial work will be taken care of by the practice that placed the implants. And it just makes things very, very simple in terms of how you put the offering across to the patient. It's included in the standard offering you're offering the patient. And it's a very, very nice way of giving added peace of mind to the patient, but also it obviously gives peace of mind to the practice, and sort of ring fences really your margin you got from the case and originally. So that's really in a nutshell how it works. In terms of COVID, how it affected us, obviously no placements then, as we know, because until the PPE was in place, but it gave us a chance to actually put our new website, finish it basically, and put it out there on the 1st of October, which really was a main driving force for us to try and make it slicker, cleaner, moderner looking, and giving you all the information about it on the actual homepage. So everything is there, even policy details, everything. So we wanted to make it very simple, very visible, and easy for people to actually, dentists to actually see it and actually go through the drop downs and see how it works. Post lockdown, obviously, it's been very encouraging. We've had a lot more clinicians finding us, coming to us, because I think people are more interested now in, everyone's suffered, their business has suffered through the lockdown. So people now are looking at different ways to market, to stand out from the competition, but also it just means that they know that any remedial work that we required will now be income generating for them rather than coming out of the margin they made originally. So that's really how we're finding things at the moment. It's, in terms of management, it's all through the website portal. So you just log in, you have your own dentist page, everything is there you need, and you can just add procedures as and when you want. It's, it's very simple. There's no fee to be involved. It's administered by Riva Insurance Company, and they make sure everything is done but under the FCA guidelines. So everything is administered through them.
And I have got to say, I think I was talking about this the other day, the application form when you're actually filling it in for the patient, because obviously you have to have all the implant details there to hand. I can't really emphasize enough just how simple it is to fill in. I actually said to you it was so much quicker than what I thought it was going to be. We're all guilty, I'm sure, when we get a form, we've got to fill it in, we think, oh gosh. But this one really, really is straightforward.
I think that's the reason we set it up that way. It's all electronic. It takes about a couple of minutes to put a patient on there.
Literally.
You know that you're always pushed for time in practices. And the last thing you want is paper filling in and stuff like that. So we want to make it simple to add cases on. And also, if there's any claims, it's all done through that portal as well. So it's all electronic. So it's very, very streamlined.
So, Kate, do you invoice the patient separately for that? Is that done as how you work it?
There are different ways, really. I mean, I know what Chris is going to say, so I'll let Chris answer it, because it's up to you what you do. But Chris, I'll let you. On
the compliance side, you include it within your standard offering for your patient. So you basically just uplift the price by the cost of the guarantee, basically. And there are certain wordings you put in the treatment plan just to explain you offer it to all qualifying patients, and any monies payable will be paid to the practice for any remedial work. And that's really as simple as it is. It's a very simple process.
So on the nuts and bolts of it then, because you mentioned trauma, intraoral trauma, and is it just trauma, or is it other types of?
No, so we cover, if the patient, say, bites hard on something and fractures a crown on an implant, obviously you'd have to take the crown off, maybe get a new one made, or they might better repair it if it's just some chipped porcelain. But it means you can actually, get the laboratory invoice and you can actually pay that, and we will obviously reimburse you for it. So it works quite easily. So how it works really is you've got a pot of money. So say £2,500 per implant, and that's a restored implant.
Okay.
It's almost split 50-50 in terms of surgical. So if the implant fails to integrate, say, with a healing abutment on, you can actually then claim a surgical time involved and ancillary items up to a value of probably around about £1,300, £1,400. We know you get the implant from the manufacturer, but that doesn't really cover the cost of your time and any grafting or etc. involved. So this is the idea of this. It allows you to retreat the patient, and obviously you get remunerated for it.
Right.
The beneficiary, obviously the patient, they're getting the treatment done, obviously with no cost to themselves. If the implant failed when it had a crown on it, then you can claim up to the maximum of £2,500. So in the end of the day, it works out very cost effective, and I think it's just a nice way of adding value, say, to what you're offering your patients, and patients like it. And I mean, Kate, I know that probably the patients do like having the peace of mind for their investment.
Yeah. Spoke to somebody, they called us yesterday, actually, funny enough, Chris, after we spoke to you, called me yesterday and said that they want to take it out when they have their placement next week. So,
oh, brilliant. And the other thing about it as well is, in the terms and conditions, it needs, an annual review, and it also needs any hygiene visits you deem the patient needs, depending on the oral hygiene. So it almost gives them a buy-in from the patient to look after their investment. And obviously you're seeing them on a more regular basis so that you can monitor the implant site and you know exactly what's going on. And if there is a problem, then you can obviously intervene sooner rather than later. So there's an onus on the patient as well to look after it, which I think is an important part, really.
100%. Your website also provides practices with marketing material and patient information, doesn't it?
That's correct. It's on your dentist page. It's all been authorized, and you can just take it off there and put it on your website. And a lot of practices involved are using it quite nicely now to promote, direct to patients. They can see patients that sort of move around and look at different practices. They can see that, this practice is offering a 5-year guarantee. And it's a nice peace of mind really for the patient, knowing that they've got that when they get done at your practice. And it also makes you stand out from the competition as well. It's this competitive marketplace, and I think everyone's looking for a little edge. And I think this gives you a nice edge.
What about exclusions, patient exclusions? Do you have any of those? Yeah,
I mean, things like IV bisphosphonates, but I don't think you place an implant on a patient that has that. Mini implants, we don't cover those. Patients that have had maybe potentially cancer treatments, there'll be maybe slight exclusion on some of those. But other than that,
I mean that sounds probably less thorough than my exclusion criteria, which is good because it's more inclusive.
There are a few, obviously there are more than that, but
I mean that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. Yeah, that's a very good thing. So in other words, it's if you had somebody that smokes and they're smoking sort of below 10 a day, you've not got that as an exclusion criteria. That's an acceptable. See, that to me is an attractive thing, because I know there are certain patients that do smoke and they might, and I know you're out there, you might say 5, but it's probably 10. But to know that and to have that there, that's quite good. Sorry, Will, you were gonna ask a question?
I was just going to throw in if there's any grey areas on failure, for example, like a cosmetic failure. So although the implant may well be functional, if they've had a bit of soft tissue loss and they're potentially going to need some corrective soft tissue surgery or something like that. Is that part of it, or is that just part of general maintenance that the dentist needs to cover?
It depends. If there's bone loss associated with it and a reason why the soft tissue is retracted back, then there will be an angle you could use that on the restorative side and obviously on the surgical side. But those could be looked on an individual basis, really. But I think generally we try to be as fair as possible with any exclusions.
I'm talking about.
That's good.
Sorry, Carl. Talking about bone loss. So if the implant has had a bone graft as well, that's still insured.
Fine. Yeah, and obviously things like in the terms and conditions it says failure of the osseointegration process or the osseointegration. So things like peri-implantitis, a surgical intervention could be had on the surgical phase. So it means you can treat the patient surgically and then put them on whatever hygiene regime you need them to go on. So it does cover a lot of things, really. I think we try to look at all the sort of different avenues, particularly restoratively, because there tend to be more complications restoratively than maybe surgically implants failing, because surface technology is better now on implants than it used to be, but they still do fail. But it's restorative complications where something like a screw coming loose, things like that, which this will act really nice as a safety net for yourselves and obviously for the patient. So I think it's we try to be as fair as possible with the terms and conditions, and I think we have to.
How quick is if you do have to have a payout? Is it a quick turnaround for the practices? Do they get reimbursed quickly?
Yeah, it takes about 2 to 3 weeks max.
Okay.
And most of the time it goes through, but sometimes there might be additional information the underwriters might want to see. But other than that, it tends to be very, very quick and simple. Again, we made it as simple as possible rather than long forms to fill in and everything else. Because again, it's, keep it very simple. It makes things much easier in terms of admin side as well.
When you say we, who else is we, if you don't mind me asking, Chris?
You've got Riva, who are the insurance brokers which administer it for us, and they're FCA compliant, which you have to be, and obviously it protects yourselves. And obviously the insurer is AmTrust European Limited, and they're an A-rated insurance company that underwrites everything for us. Yeah. So any claims would go through Riva, and they would deal directly then on our behalf with AmTrust. Yeah. And AmTrust obviously settle the payment directly through Riva to yourselves then.
So is this purely your company, or
it is our company? There's 2 other directors of the company, so it's myself,
right? Okay,
another Chris, and a Michael. Yeah. So it is our company. We put it together as it's almost like a bespoke implant guarantee for the marketplace, and that's really how we came across the idea. And all your backgrounds, were you all kind of in the implant field or the dental field, or? I'm a dental technician, and I've been in the implant marketplace as well, so I know that well. My colleague Chris, again, he's a CDT, so he's familiar with implants. Michael, he's an accountant, so by trade. Okay. So which helps. It's good.
Were you all friends, or?
Yeah, we're all based in Yorkshire, and we got together and scoped it all out really, and then sort of planned it, and then put it out in the marketplace.
It wasn't on a Friday night, was it? On a Friday afternoon after a short, you finished at 2, you all met.
With 2.
No, it's been
had a couple of beers.
Been many a Friday afternoon, I think, wasn't it? Yeah. But no, it's been out since about 2017. But it's it's doing nicely, and I think for the reasons we've been mentioned, it's something which is new and fresh in the marketplace, really, which just adds value to what.
So as a technician, was it sort of crown and bridge technician or dentures, or?
I did crown and bridge and dentures. So
you say that with a sigh.
You did.
Well, I had my own lab for about 5.5, 6 years in Boston, and then I decided to go into sales, and that's where I just decided that was what I wanted to do. So that's what I did, and then ended up here. So it's
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's a great concept, isn't it? It's a great concept. It really is. I look at Will as well, because to me, it just makes sense.
Well, I'm going to get into character now of the dentist who says, well, none of my implants fail in 5 years. So really what I want is maybe insurance for 5 years plus, because that's maybe when we might need the insurance. So how are you going to convince me as the cynical dentist that I need your insurance for 0 to 5 years?
Okay. After the 5 years are up, we can offer an annual renewable, which will be based on your assessment of the patient's bone level maintenance, their oral hygiene. If you're happy with that, that's all we can go by is the clinician's word, and we can offer an annual renewable to the patient direct. So there saves any admin for yourselves to do.
But do you feel you're going to get some resistance from the guys who are thinking, well, we don't get a lot of failures in that 0 to 5 years, that sort of thing?
You're always going to get some people that are going to be sort of that way inclined, but I think the majority of people, particularly in our climate now as well, are thinking, well, actually, you don't know what's around the corner. You can't predict peri-implantitis. And I think it's just a nice way of knowing that for your business, that it's, any claim is going to be additional revenue for the business. And obviously the patient is the recipient of the remedial work anyway. So it just makes more sense. They like it.
And are you covering all procedures, or do you look on certain things, say on 4 in the hands of somebody not so experienced, or are you looking at zygomatics, and where are your boundaries with everything?
No, we cover zygomatic. We cover all on 4. We tend to work with some really nice clinicians, and I think that obviously helps. If you do an all on 4, you tend to get the more experienced people doing it. But we're not excluding those. So, someone's always got to start from somewhere with an all on 4 case. But I think a lot of them could be mentored by somebody at the same time, so it would improve their skill sets. But also they've got the mentor there, which will give them that added confidence and support, which is obviously required a lot of the time.
And going down the road, and I'm not meaning to put you on the spot in any way, but if you had sort of somebody that was consistently, if you had somebody that was consistently you felt that there was sort of an unusual level of claims coming through, would there be another conversation there maybe, or is that something you'd look at? Yeah,
there would be another conversation. I mean, obviously, if the claim rate is exceedingly high compared to the volume they put in, then you'd have to look at it, and the insurance company would make the decision. Yeah,
that's kind of where I was going with the underwriters.
It wouldn't be our decision; it will be down to the underwriters then.
Yeah,
and I think that's a fair decision. It's on from that situation.
Yeah,
I told you, Carl, you should stop putting Will Murphy's name down. I told you. He'll catch you out.
I haven't even started. What's going on?
Easy. His signature's on his. It's his logo, isn't it? So
Gentlemen, do you have any more questions? Anything else?
Are we there already? No way.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah, how fast?
It's flying. By.
See?
Do you know what, Chris? I told you it flies.
It does. It's
well, I did actually. What I was going to ask was, we got sidetracked. But do you ever miss doing the kind of the technical side of it, the technician side of it? Do you ever miss any of that?
There's that. Sorry again.
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
No, I mean, I have done some courses obviously since I left the lab. I did a Gradia course on composite and stuff. But it's when you're doing it, you realise you've been away from the bench too long, and I think. I think I made the right decision.
That's good.
He doesn't miss it.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
No, is an absolutely fine answer.
I enjoy what I'm doing. It's
great.
I'm pleased with what we got. The products, add something to the marketplace, and I think it's a good concept to work with, and I'm enjoying it.
And where do we find your website?
It's just ImplantSure.com. And all the information's there you require.
Before kind of lockdown, were you guys kind of traveling around and sort of finding sort of practices and implantologists and sort of going to meet them, or was that something you were kind of just sort of self-generating through kind of where you started off and then word of mouth, or how were you kind of doing things?
It's a combination of both. I mean, we were traveling around. You book appointments like you do in anything, and then it's usually the lunchtime slot, which is the familiar one. We did use Zoom a little bit, but I think obviously moving forward now, this is the norm now. And it's the next best thing, I suppose, isn't it? But the question at the beginning then is, I find these can be a bit draining when you do a lot in a day, Zooms or webinars. It's a strange feeling sometimes when you finish them. But but no, do I miss the traveling? Probably not. But you sometimes feel a bit guilty to sort of sat down talking to people on various Zoom calls. It's a strange way of. It's not strange, I suppose. You're getting used to a different way of working, I suppose, isn't it? And it's the same for everybody. I think that's the reality.
Well, you just see everybody in a rectangle now, don't you? When you go in the right places.
And sometimes you see things in the back of the back around where if they're in the house or something like that. So it's sort of. But,
he's been good today, but usually with Will, he's got his logo behind him, and he's he's got all his paraphernalia.
Off all his merch.
Every opportunity with this Will Murphy.
You know what? I was thinking at some point we should have maybe a round table on dentally related startups, because we've sort of started to dip our toe into some of this, haven't we? And that would be quite interesting from getting the business angle in, as opposed to we've done plenty of clinical stuff, and I think these are sort of bits that I think lots of people are interested in.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I agree. Definitely do.
Thoughts for the future.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, on that note, Mr. Will Murphy is going to be burning the midnight oil. So let's let him get on. Wish you good luck, Will. I'm sure it'll all go well in there.
Yeah, I hope it goes well, mate.
They're in very good hands with you. So
thanks, guys.
Hope you all have a good weekend and look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you, Chris. Cheers, Will. Cheers,
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks a lot, everybody.
Bye. Bye-bye.